Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
So, like she said, mi español es poco. So, I just moved here about a year ago, and I probably should study much more Spanish than I do. But I let my 7-year-old daughter speak for me, so we're good. I get to talk to you a little bit today about Enterprise, a company I've worked for the past 18 years. So it's called Enterprise Holdings. And first, I'm going to start off, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the company. When it was founded, how long it's been in business for, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about the career path. And then when I talk to you about the career path, I'll try to tie in my last 18 years with Enterprise to that career path. And at the end, you can ask me any questions that you want about the company, okay, or the opportunities that we have in the future. So, Enterprise started in 1957, and it started in the basement of a Cadillac dealership in the United States, in St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, so Jack Taylor was the founder. He's in the upper left-hand corner, and he was a fighter pilot for the U.S. Navy, and he fought on the USS Enterprise. So the name Enterprise came from the fighter ship that he was on. So he started in the basement of a Cadillac dealership with about 7 cars, so 7 coaches, and really it's been an all-American story because he started the business from the ground up. So really, really cool story. And then it started as executive leasing, so we would lease cars. Do you know the difference between a rental and a lease? So a lease is kind of, you go and buy a car. Instead of buying a car, you lease it, and you lease it for an extended period of time. From a rental, it's just a short-term type of vehicle. So it started off as Enterprise Leasing and then turned into Enterprise Rent-A-Car down the road. He had a pretty simple philosophy. He was a humble man. He came from a middle-class family, very similar to myself, a middle-class American family. And he had a philosophy that said, if you take care of your customers and employees first, the growth and profits will follow. So if you ask Jack 50, 60 years ago if he thought the company would turn into the company it is today, I don't think he could have ever dreamed it did. It would. Because the company today is still private. Do you know the difference between and I'm sure you do, but the difference between a private and a public company? Private, we own it, family owns it. Public, it's traded on the stock market, right? So we're still private today. When I was in college, and when I was in university, I was looking for 2 things when I got out of school. One, I wanted to get out of my parents' basement, because I lived in my parents' basement after college, and I wanted my own place. And the second was I wanted a company that was going to have great values and support my future growth as a business person, because I went to business school as well. And I stumbled upon Enterprise, and I went through their founding values. And we really have 8 founding values. And I'll run through each one of them quickly with you, and you can ask me any questions if you want. But personal honesty and integrity are the foundations of our success. Customer service is our way of life, so the customer comes first. If we treat the customer well, they're going to come back, and they're going to continue to buy from us. Even if we're not the cheapest product out there, if we provide great, excellent customer service, they're probably going to come back. So think about the places that you do business with. Sometimes they're not always the least expensive, but they have better service, and you go back. The clothes you wear, sometimes they're not the least expensive, but because of the service and the product and the quality, you go back. Okay? So he felt very strongly about that. Our company is a fun and friendly place to work where teamwork rules. So, we work really, really hard. We put in some hours, and it's a performance-based company, but we like to reward hard work. One thing that Jack decided when he started the company was that he was going to promote from within. So he hires a person that comes in at the ground level and then keeps promoting from within the organization. So there's nobody from another rental car company like a Hertz or an Avis or a Europcar that's going to come in and take your job when you move up through the company. So he promotes his people. We work hard and we reward hard work. Great things happen when we listen to our customers and each other. So it's not everything type of business. Our world is changing. We have to adapt to the changing world. 1957 to today is a much different customer base, and unless we continue to evolve and listen to the young minds that we hire and to our customers, we'll never get to the place we want to be. So that still reigns true today. We strengthen our communities one neighborhood at a time. We're one of the largest privately held companies in the world. I think we're top 15 now in privately held companies in the world. And I'll go through that stat with you in a minute. But we do feel strongly about giving back to our local communities. So there's different charities that we belong to, and there's different events that we hold on a local and a national level. And a global level, really, right now. I say national for Spain, but really from a global standpoint, we're looking at strengthening our communities. We have a whole foundation that does that. Our doors are open. What do you think that means? Our doors are open. This is a tricky one.
That you always listen to each other, and that there's no barrier, you know?
Yeah, that's very good. That's well said. We do. So, we listen to our employees. We listen to each other. Eduardo could walk into my office at any point in time. A trainee could come and talk to me, and I'm going to listen. We're also an equal opportunity employer. We don't discriminate. Male, female, ethnicity, religious background. We don't discriminate. So we're going to hire anybody as long as they're good from a qualitative and quantitative competency standpoint. So. Sometimes when you put that up there, people are like, well, you're just going to stay open all the time. Well, that's not really what it is. It's more about listening to our employees and really being that difference maker in the marketplace. Our brand is the most valuable thing we own. So what do you think that means?
That you promise that you do what you promise.
Yeah, we do. We do it from, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If our brand started in 1957. We have one of the strongest brands in the entire world from a rental car standpoint. That brand could be damaged if we don't make great decisions for our people, meaning our employees or our customers. We have to protect our customers. We have to put them in products that's going to keep them safe. They're driving cars. The tires have to be safe. They have to be well maintained. Our facilities have to look good. Our people have to believe in our brand. And our customers need to believe in our brand, because if they don't, it's going to damage it and the brand will fail. So it's really, really important. So these are the values that he started 60 years ago, and they still hold true today. So that was important to me when I was looking for a job outside of the university, outside of getting my education. I wanted a company that had values, cared about their employees, cared about their customers, and had upward mobility or growth. A little bit of background on our company. Number 15 ranking in Forbes, America's largest privately held company. We have 2 million cars. We have almost 10,000 branches worldwide, 10,000 locations. A little bit over 100,000 employees. It's a privately held company, like I said before, that does $22 billion US dollars in revenue a year. We're in more than 90 countries now, focused on global expansion. And this is a US rating. It's called the Better Business Bureau, but it just says that you do business in great standing. So we have a triple B plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. So we do things the right way. All right, so here's our core competency. So we look at things a couple different ways. From a core competency standpoint, it's how we measure our employees. So if you go to get hired with Enterprise, these are the things we look for. If you try to get promoted with Enterprise, these are the things we look for. We look at things from a qualitative standpoint and a quantitative standpoint. Quantitative is numbers, so performance numbers. Qualitative is characteristics are your personal characteristics, your leadership ability, your work ethic, your ability to build a team, communicate well, that type of stuff. So here's some of the things we look for. Leadership. So leadership in your classroom, leadership in your home, leadership on your sports team, leadership in life in general. That's some of the questions we would ask you. And I think a lot of these things probably will come to you when you start interviewing after university, not only with enterprise but outside of it. You'll have to start thinking about some questions on how to answer some of this stuff in the business world. Flexibility, that's a little bit of mobility, being able to move from place to place. And as things come up with your employer, how flexible are you to changes in the environment or the culture? Work ethic, do you come in and from 8 to 5 and kind of leave it there, or do you take the extra step when needed to show ownership in your business or entrepreneurship? Communication, how well do you deliver a message to your team? How do you communicate with your fellow coworkers, your customers, and upper management? Customer service, you have to be able to be friendly to customers, to be open to customers, and to listen. And then sales. We're a sales-based company. So we are always trying to sell products and services that can make the customer's experience better. So those are some of our core competencies. And again, if you're going to interview in the business world, everybody might have a different variation of questions, but usually the questions would revolve around these competencies. So start thinking now about how you're going to prepare for that. All right. Okay. We got to go back. Is there a way to go back here? So, we're going to go down. One more. Do we have just do this? All right. There we go. All right. So I'll walk you through the career timeline with enterprise, and I'll try to fill my career in here as well. So everybody starts as a management trainee, unless you're in a specialized division, which is like accounting. But the majority, 98% of our employees start as a management trainee. That's where I started. I started my career in 2001. So I've been with Enterprise almost 18 years. And I started in upstate New York, my first job out of college. Like I said, I came up through a middle class family in New York. I was the first one to go to university out of my family in New York. I have two younger brothers, and they both went through university, but I was the first person to go and graduate. So I started as a management trainee. And I took my tests. There's a couple different tests. There's a written and a verbal test. And then I became a management assistant. Same career path that you or anybody that you know that worked with Enterprise would go with. A management assistant really means you're ready to take the next step in your career. You're ready to become an assistant manager, where you're paid off the bottom line of the branch. So I did that for a couple months, and then I transferred with the company closer to New York City because I wanted to be near New York City because it was really cool. And I became an assistant manager out there by New York City. And I was an assistant manager for about 6 months. And really, you're second in charge of the branch. So you have the branch manager, then you have the assistant manager, and your pay is salary plus you get paid off the bottom line. So if you improve the branch, the financials of the branch, if you improve the branch, you make more money. So I did the assistant manager spot for about 6 months. And then I was promoted to branch manager, which is the next. And that means you're in charge of a branch. So you have the keys, it's your branch. Enterprise just provides you with the cars, which is your product. And you have people below you that you're trying to train, get them better, and motivate them to be successful. So I did that at a small location. Usually that's kind of the career path. You go to a small location. Then you go to a large location. And when you go from the small to a large location, they give you an increase in pay. So that was great. So I ran my branch manager position for about 2 years. And then I took a sidestep from rental, and I did this position here. So I did an outside sales position. So I went to like Fortune 1000 companies, I went to larger companies, and I would try to get them to come and rent from Enterprise. So I did that for about a year. Then I became an area manager, which is really right here. And the area manager is you're in charge of multiple locations. So 5, 6, 7 stores. that report up to you. So at that time, I was fortunate enough, I got married. I think at the time I was like 26. I got married, and we built our first home in New York, and I was there for about a year, well, 2 years. And then I was promoted to the position of group rental manager, okay, which is like a regional manager. And I don't know if that one's in here.
Yeah, the next one.
Yes, so I was promoted to regional manager, group rental manager, and you're in charge of like 30 locations, 40 locations. And that was in New Jersey. So I moved to New Jersey, and that was during the economic crisis in the United States, 2007, 2008. And I know Spain went through an economic crisis as well, but I was able to kind of work in really challenging business environment through an economic crisis at a young age, outside of college. So it taught me a lot. And I did the regional manager position for about 6 years. And after that, I had the opportunity to be a vice president. So we had my wife had the kids, but we had children. And at that point, we moved from Connecticut, where I was, and we moved to Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. That's where all the major manufacturers are. So GM, Chrysler, Ford, all the major manufacturers are in Detroit, Michigan. So we moved our family to Michigan, and I was there for 3 years. We turned around the profits in the group. And then the opportunity opened up in Spain, so in España. So I told my wife I asked my wife if we could move to Spain first, and she didn't talk to me for 3 days. But we interviewed for Spain and we interviewed for Puerto Rico. And the good news is we had the choice on where to go, and Spain's much cooler than Puerto Rico. So not that there's anything wrong with Puerto Rico if anybody's from Puerto Rico here, but it's small, and Spain is Europe, and my kids get to experience Europe, and we get to travel too, and focus on the business here in Spain. And there's an unbelievable opportunity in Spain for our business, so it's great. And we just purchased a company about 5 years ago called Atessa, and it was owned by Peugeot and Citroën. So, we had a good footprint in Spain. We have about 95 locations. There's about 700 employees that are, full/part-time. And 60 branch managers, 50 assistant managers. So it's a big group. We have 3 group rental managers. I have a vice president that reports to me that was in charge of franchising, so going out really in Latin America and Europe and expanding our global footprint. So there's just a lot of opportunity here. So we've been fortunate enough to come to Spain and do business and learn international business for me too. So that was kind of my career path. But again, we promote from within. So Eduardo, our HR manager back there, he started as an employee in one of the branches as well, and he worked his way up and became the group HR manager. And a business rental, you'd start from the floor and come up and go to business rental. Business manager, usually that's kind of a specialized position. So we have a controller that's in charge of the finance. So that tends to be somebody that doesn't go through this career path. But in Detroit, Michigan, my controller was a management trainee at one point. But usually that's more of a specialized degree that you need to have. Remarketing, we have a lot of cars in Spain. We have mucho coches in Spain. We have to sell those cars at the end. So we go back to the dealers after we buy them from the manufacturer. We have to sell the cars. So our remarketing manager is the one who sells all the cars. And every different division, we have a risk division that we promote from within to run. Talent acquisition, like Maribel, that goes out and finds talent and great minds, young minds, to help us grow our business. That's somebody else we hire from within. So plenty of opportunities with enterprise. But the good news is a lot of it comes from really that starting point with the management training program. Because we really want everybody to learn the business first. So when you're that general manager, in my role, you understand what it's like to be on the front line. You also understand the different facets of our business, so you can help give great advice. And it also keeps you grounded. Yeah, it keeps you humble. You're right. Exactly. It keeps you humble and know where you came from. So you're able to give some advice. So that's a little bit about the career path. Any questions on that?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
On top of the management training program,
Yeah.
can you dissect more what are
The responsibilities.
the
So,
levels?
so you're in charge of really your day-to-day activities is you sell. So if a customer has a reservation for a small car, and you have a nice bigger car on your lot, and you see they're coming up with luggage or a couple kids, you would offer them an upgrade into a larger car, and it's nicer. And we have protection products, so if the customer gets in an accident and something happens, then they're not exposed to paying additional money for the claim of the car. That type of stuff, like a GPS unit, so the customer doesn't get lost. We sell prepaid fuel, where if they buy the fuel ahead of time, they get a discount. So there's sales there. There's customer service. So you have some customers that are really happy that you're going to give them a high five and they're going to go, and you have some customers that just are not nice. So you have to deal with a not nice customer sometimes too. As a management trainee, when our service agent didn't come to work, our service agent is the person that cleans the car, they didn't come to work, guess what you think I did? I cleaned the car. I did that as a manager, I did that as a regional manager. Plus it's nice out, you exercise and all that stuff. So you'll do different things like that. So you're the entrepreneur. You're learning how to run a business. We're going to teach you the financial statement. We're going to teach you the good stuff. We're going to teach you the stuff not to do. But we are going to teach you how to run a business. That's our foundation. That's how we've been so successful. We teach entrepreneurs to run a business and to get compensated someday, to be able to take care of yourself and your family and live a great life, a really cool life. So. That's what you do. I mean, you're putting customers in cars, you're checking customers out of cars. You go out and market, meaning we do a lot of business with dealerships, we do a lot of business with body shops, we do a lot of business with corporate accounts. You would go out, maintain relationships that we already have, and you'd also get people to send you more business to grow and expand. And when we grow, we open up more opportunities, more branches. We can hire more people, that type of stuff. So that's kind of the job as a management trainee. It's fun, but it's hard work and it's performance based. But if you do it and you do it right, there's no ceiling really. I don't know how many times I've been promoted in the last 18 years. But again, the next step is to go run a bigger. Right now, I'm running a country. In another country, which I never thought I would be at. And now I look at my Spanish classes back in the United States, and I should have paid more attention. Right? I should have listened to my teacher and my parents, but I didn't. So that's what's cool about the company, too. There's global opportunities.
Which means at the end of it all, for example, when you do like the call for applications for the graduate program or the graduate skill, do you consider like a certain degree or a certain graduate?
Yeah, we do. So in order to get in the management training program, you do have to have a bachelor's degree. So
in what field specifically, or any field? Any
field, really. Eduardo was a lawyer, and so he got a law degree, and now he's running our HR department. So there's different degrees. I have a friend that was
so many times. Vinny told me, "Yeah, you're a lawyer. You are always telling me, no, you can do that."
He's not allowed to tell me no anymore. That's a rule. I have a friend that's a vice president in North Carolina in the United States, and he was a history major. So typically we hire business management majors, but hospitality, that type of stuff. But it doesn't matter really the degree. It matters. Remember, I put up the core competencies: leadership, flexibility, communication, that type of stuff. That's who we hire: competitive, driven entrepreneurs. And we're continuing global expansion. I mean, we're almost through South America, but we're still farming some additional business out there. But we like I said, we're in 90 countries, so pretty cool. What other questions?
how long would the management trainee typically be in that position?
Yeah, the timeline on the management trainee is typically about 11 months. 11. I won't say.
It's very specific.
Yeah, that's our time. Well, we measure everything. So we're statistics-oriented people. So we measure everything on a matrix. So it's actually 11.2 months, our average, from the time they're hired to the time that they become a management assistant. Now, some people are on 15 or 16 months, and then there's some people that are 9 months. It depends on what you do when you come in. Some people never get to management assistant. Some people just don't. They don't make it.
So then do you drop them off at some point, or do you just let them be?
No, we would drop them off at some point. Yeah. And your business gets sick. It's unhealthy to keep people on that don't have the qualitative or quantitative competencies that you need in order to be successful. And the more you perpetuate that or drag that along, the sicker your business gets, and the more it spreads to your other employees, and that's not fair. So I talk about it all the time. We have 700 employees in Spain. My biggest role is to make the best decisions for the 700 employees in Spain. So if we have some employees that just don't perform or don't care, it's better to separate ties with them than to keep them along. Now, we have to train, we have to develop them, and we're not in the business just to let people go. That's not what we're here, that we wouldn't have been that successful. Ours is more of a nurturing type of environment where it's, we're going to do our best to train you and develop you and give you all we can. But if it doesn't work out and you don't want to do it, then it's a different conversation. If we're not training you, then that's where I go to my team and I say, well, why isn't she succeeding? You're not training her enough. Give her more attention. But if you just don't care, you don't want to do it, then it's not going to work. Make sense?
Yeah. So during the initial stage, would you have like a probation period or a training period or a trial phase?
We don't do that, no. I mean, if you're a trainee, that's your kind of your trial phase. But if you don't perform for a month, are you fired? No, that's not the way it works. No, you really have to show us that you don't care in order to get fired. There's a lot of companies out there, a lot of American companies, where if you fall below a certain threshold, you're done.
Yeah.
You're fired. Here, it's more nurturing. Now, we do have performance management, where if you do it for an extended period of time, then we part ways. But it's not like a 1 month blip in the radar where you part ways. We wouldn't have the founding values like we have them if that was the kind of company we work for. But there is companies out there that do it, and they're very successful companies, especially in the United States, because that's what I know. But that's not us. So. If not, Eduardo would have been fired a long time ago. Okay, what other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is Spain such a good market for you? Could you elaborate?
Yeah, so a couple different things. One, from a profit standpoint, the profits have struggled here a little bit. So I think there's been some tweaks from a macro standpoint that we've been able to make it a successful, healthier business. So that was attractive for me because it wasn't performing, and for me to come in and help it turn around for a self-gratification, that's great, and also from a compensation standpoint, that works out well too, and that makes my wife much happier, and when she's happy, I'm happy, so we're good. So that was that, and then it's just a huge leisure market. So I think France is number one. Spain just passed the United States for number 2 in the leisure markets. So, if you do it right and you have this leisure business coming in, especially in those summer months, you should really be able to capitalize. So we've been focusing on doing it right to capitalize on the Spanish market, while navigating through some of the laws and regulations in Spain, which make it a little bit different from a capitalistic standpoint than some other countries. But it's doable. We just have to find ways to navigate through some of those different laws and regulations. But it's been fun. It's been challenging, very challenging. Most challenging thing I've done professionally and personally ever in my life. But it's rewarding, so it's good. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have another.
Go
After
ahead.
how long do you sell the cars?
So good question. So it depends. So we have a formula that we use. It's called cost going forward, and it depends on the year, the make, and the model. And we make the best decision from a residual side of things that's going to make us the most money. So some cars will sell in 6 months, some cars will sell in 12 months, some cars will sell in 24 months. A lot of the Fuganetas we sell in vans, right? I got that now. I know that one. I know Coach and Fuganeta. And 36 months. So some of that stuff is more longer term, which we'll sell. But we sell them all wholesale, which means we sell them back to the dealers. So we don't sell in Spain directly to the public. We don't do that. In the United States, we do. We have a car sales division that sells to the public. In Spain, we sell them all back to the manufacturer. Or, excuse me, back to the dealers. And then some we turn into the manufacturers. Because we have almost like a leasing program where during the summer peak that comes up, we'll take them from the manufacturers at a certain time frame, and we'll give them back to the manufacturers. Because, again, in Spain, in May, June, July, August, September, our fleet goes away here. By July, it's down to a third of what it was because of the leisure market. So
Do you sell them like all together, by groups, or maybe one by one?
one by one.
One by one.
One by one. One by one. That's kind of, just the way the European model is set up. In the United States, we have some big dealer groups that'll come and buy 100 or 200 or 1,000 cars. Here, we sell them one by one. We go to the dealers. I have a team of salespeople that have a list of cars. They have it on their tablets now. Way back when it used to be.
Is it like more profitable than sell them all together? I mean, by time, for example.
It just depends. It depends on the model. That's a great question. It really does. It depends on the model of the country. Like Europe, one by one works for Europe. In the United States, some bigger sales work a little bit better, but usually when you make it, well, let me ask you this, okay? What do you think happens if we have to sell 100 cars versus one by one?
I think that probably that's gonna take a long time. But if you do what you do, you sell them one by one. At the end, probably you're gonna get more profit than if you sell all at the same time.
Right, because what are we gonna do? What is the guy gonna do, or the woman gonna do when they come to us and they say, "Hey, I want to buy 100 cars from you." What do you think they're gonna say to us?
Probably to get
Yes,
the discount.
give me a deal. I want a deal.
I'll
But if
come
you're
buy
selling
100.
it, I'm buying 100, right? The same thing that you would say. Hey, I want to rent 100 hotel rooms. Okay, well, I want to get a discount because I'm renting 100 hotel rooms. But if I just rent one, I'm going to pay more. The price goes up, right? So same thing when we're going to sell a car. If we're selling one by one, maybe they buy two, maybe they buy five, we can get a higher yield on those cars than selling 100. Now, there's sometimes that we just have 100 cars sitting around that we can't get rid of. Then it's more beneficial from us from a cost standpoint to say, you want the 100, fine, take the 100. And then they're done. But that's why we just kind of put it in a formula. And it's really a math equation for us. What do we buy it at? What's the market yielding? What can we sell it for? How long do we have to hold it? There's depreciation behind it. There's all these different factors that come into play. There's different laws and regulations for CO2 emissions in Spain and in Europe. There's diesel versus petrol or gasoline. So there's different factors. How long is diesel going to be around in Spain? Not much longer, right? So there's a cost going forward there that we have to look at. Can we get electric? Can we get hybrid? There's so many different things going on right now that we have to make a decision.
Because I know I worked once for a car trading company, and a rental car came to us. They wanted to sell us the cars, but just the total, no one by one.
Just the total.
Yeah, the total.
And there's different models. Like
Yeah.
different rental car companies run under different models. So ours is more on a one by one relationship basis. So our salespeople are more relationship driven than kind of a commoditized market type of mentality.
I have a question. I don't know if it's right, but do you consider your competition the companies like City or Car to Go or Move?
Yeah, I mean, they're all competitors. They're more local European type competition for us.
That's a strength because you're a big company.
We are. You know, what we'll tend to see with some of our competitors, like the ones you mentioned, is lower pricing. And sometimes at lower pricing, by the time you get there, and there's new laws and regulations coming out from the European Union that's more based on consumer pricing disclosure. We'll see some of the competitors, you know, they set one price and then it comes in at a different price by the time you get there, and we try to stay away from that stuff. So our main competition, though they are a threat to us for sure, our main competitors in Europe are Hertz, Avis Budget, you know, both of them, Sixt, Europe Car. Those are really our main competitors within the European market. We're at all the train stations in the airports. That's where a lot of the local competitors kind of get pushed aside and operate on a local environment type of deal. But absolutely, there's 1,700 local rental car companies in Spain. There's the top 5 are the ones I mentioned, but there's another 1,700 competitors in Spain. So absolutely, they're a threat. Absolutely, they're a competitor. You know, so we don't discard any competition. We always try to analyze what they're doing, what their strategy is, what effects it's going to have on the market here. So. For me, I didn't know what I was getting into when I graduated college and I started working for Enterprise. My family and my friends were like, "What the heck are you doing? You spent all that money on an education, and now you're going to work for a rental car company. What is wrong with you?" But now they all come and visit me wherever I am, and they have a lot of fun. So that's good. But the car is really just our product. The business is really what attracts you to the company, what attracted me to the company. Because, I mean, anything is, all the different fads out there, like, but the car really for us is a product. I was trying to come up with an analogy that would fit for Spain, so I'm sorry. But that was cool and trendy. Like, my wife likes Lululemon. Has anybody heard of Lululemon?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's that clothing line, but that's cool and that's trendy. So I'm going to go work for Lululemon because it's cool. For Enterprise, it doesn't sound too cool. Right? It doesn't sound trendy, doesn't sound cool because you're renting cars. But the opportunity and the business model, I would put it up against any other business model in the world, and we would be able to hang with them. So don't get jaded or misconstrued by it's a car rental company because it's more. Heck, I'm in Spain now. So it's a testament of it, which has been great. So
going back to the marketing model, bearing the fact that you have a wide number of employees, don't you have like in-house sales for your employees? Or
yeah, we do. Yeah, well, they go out and they market to the dealers and body shops from a higher level, the bigger ones. But our branch managers market to some of the smaller accounts, that type of stuff.
No, what about selling the cars to your own employees?
Like that? No, we don't. No, we try to keep that stuff separate because then you could get into some ethical dilemmas. Like I'm selling you a car for one price, then I'm selling you a car for another price. No bueno. That type of stuff. So we try to stay away from that. Now in the U.S., there is a car sales division that we give employee discounts to. So from where we don't sell retail here, we only sell wholesale, only sell to dealers. So in the U.S., we would sell it to our employees, and they get like 1,500 euros off any car they buy, and it's a preset rate and all that stuff. So, and then your family gets the discount as well. So we do sell that. We do sell our cars back to our employees in the U.S. Once we create a long-term, healthy, sustainable business model in Spain, which I do believe it's there, we may start selling to the public. But right now, we got some work to do.
And do you guys have the option here of leaving the car in a different branch?
Yeah.
Does it work the same in all the countries that you are in?
Yeah. Usually within the country, though. Like for us to have a car dropped in Portugal doesn't really work.
No,
anywhere within Spain, you could do it one way. There's a charge to do it one way. There's a fee. associated with it, but yes, we do one way. And it's like that in the United States. It's like that in France, Germany, and the UK. You do one-way vehicles. Especially with the vans and that type of stuff. They're taking it one way. It's a profitable area of our business, so it's good. Good question. Great questions.
And when you talk about global presence, are you only in the two continents, Americas and Europe, or in Asia, Africa?
Oh, yeah. Yes, and yes. We own a fraction of a company in China. It's called Ehai. In China, you can only own a certain portion of a company. So I think we own like 49% or something like that in this company called Ehai. So we're in China now as well. But our long-term plan is to have a global footprint, which allows us to go to some of our major accounts, the Apples, the IBMs, and all that type of stuff, and say, hey, we have a global presence, come rep with us. And though we might not be the cheapest, we're the best. And we measure customer service, so we've won, there's an award called J.D. Power Associates in the United States. We've won it like 9 out of the last 10 years. We do random surveys to our customers. Promotability is based off of customer service, so which gives us an edge on our competitors too, because we're the only ones really in the industry that does that. So.
Question. Are most of your clients individual customers or corporate?
It's a mix. So in Spain, it's kind of very similar, from leisure, individual to corporate, probably the same ratio. In the United States and in the UK, it's a lot of insurance replacement, meaning you get in an accident, your car breaks down, your insurance company provides you with X amount of money per day towards a rental vehicle, and you go and you get a car. That's how we founded our business. A lot of our business came from replacement, which is, I got an accident, help me. Because everybody, people get in accidents. It happens. Cars break down. So in that, it's probably 30% replacement, 30% corporate, 30% retail, and 10%, like we call it, fleet companies that we work with. In the other countries, in Spain, it's leisure and corporate. Those are our two big buckets. Because there's really not that insurance replacement market out here. Though there's big insurance companies, they don't really provide their customers with an alternative means of transportation when their cars go down. So it equals about 10% of our business here. We're trying to create that. We're trying to create that need and change the culture of the Spanish insurance companies. But it's taking a little bit of time.
Also wanted to ask, what other services do you, as a company, provide rather than outsource? So do you do the fixing, mechanical work by yourself, the washing?
No. Some of the washing we do ourselves. Sometimes we have service agents. Sometimes we outsource some of that. The transportation, sometimes we do it with our own people. We have crews of drivers. And then in other areas where we don't use a crew of drivers, we'll outsource. So in Spain, you can't really insource and outsource at the same branch. You have to you could either choose one or the other. You can insource or you can outsource. So depending on what we have going on there, we make the choice of the one or the two. And then any mechanical work's all outsourced. We don't do anything in-house here. We run cars. We have a flexi-rent division, so I oversee a flexi-rent division. So it's for longer-term rentals. So anywhere, typical length of rental there is a year. So it's kind of like leasing, but not leasing. But we have a bunch of vans and cars that work for that. So there's ride share we have, which is kind of like a zip car, but it's an hourly ride share service. So if you need a car for 2 hours, you go and you get a car for 2 hours, and then you drop it back off. That's another division. Not in Spain yet, but in other parts of the world. So there's different divisions and things like that we have as well. Any other questions? Okay.
Is there, once you're in the company, for example, in the management training program, open opportunities abroad?
Yeah.
Or do you just send any of the people there when they are like in a top level, for example, like you?
No. So We have an international management training program that we offer now, which you would start in the UK, you'd work there for a year, and then you'd come back to Spain. And after you come back to Spain, you really should be at that management assistant level and interviewing for assistant manager spots wherever you want within the country. Also, I opened up the branch manager position in Barcelona Airport to everybody in Europe. So anybody in Europe could apply to the branch manager position in Barcelona, which is pretty cool. Now, that's not typical. You don't see it a lot, but I tried to get some people to come in. When you become an area manager, that's where you'll start seeing more opportunities. But I was an area manager in 3.5 years. So, if you do it right, whether you go be an IMT for a year and come to Spain, if you get to the point where you start interviewing for area manager, you'll see it globally that comes through. But you have to interview, you have to get it, you have to be like a sports team, right? Yeah. You have to try out. And if you do well, they're going to take you. And if you don't do well, you just go to the next team, type of deal. But yeah, international positions are there.
Okay, and do you prefer keep that management trainee that has been formed to keep working in the country, or to move here, or do that to the employee requirements, for example?
I think whatever is best for the employee and the customer, or for the employee and the business. So if you have somebody that's really good that could go help Ireland out, go ahead. You go interview for the spot. If you get it, go get it. If you want to stay in Spain, there's 95 locations. You could stay here and you could grow up in Spain. And then if you want to leave, grow up with a company in Spain. If you want to leave after, that's okay. Because again, it's a privately held company. So you try to do what's best for the family, which is the Taylors. So if you're better suited in another country, go ahead. If the spot opens in Chicago and you want to move to Chicago, you could go. If you wanted to transfer to Chicago, you could transfer. We have people that want to transfer to Spain all the time. They have to speak Spanish, though. I tell them, as a management trainee, you have to speak Spanish because it doesn't work the other way. But yes, if you want to go to an English-speaking place, you have to speak the language, which seems like all. Any other questions? No. All right, you've been fantastic. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.